अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन। आज के इस सेगमेंट में हमारे साथ मिस्टर शान कुरैशी मौजूद हैं। मिस्टर शान कुरैशी जो हैं वो आजकल जो हॉट टॉपिक है उस पर अपने ख़यालात का इजहार करेंगे, यानी कि अमेरिकन पॉलिटिक्स। अमेरिका में जो आजकल ट्रैवल बैन या इमिग्रेंट्स के ख़िलाफ़ जो कुछ हो रहा है या रेफ्यूजीज़ के साथ जो हो रहा है वो उसके बारे में अपने ख़यालात का इजहार करेंगे। मिस्टर शान कुरैशी had a BA Honours in Political Science from York University. He had experience in assisting refugees in their settlement process, which included administrative and interpretive services. Experience working with Elections Canada and with different elections campaign. He had also worked under Dalton McGuinty's government with the government of Ontario. Mr. Shan Qureshi, welcome to the show. And thanks for coming, for taking the time from your busy schedule, because I know you're busy. You go on this show and that show to express your views about this American politics. What do you think about the Mr. President's ban, especially on those 7 countries?
Mr. Wan, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. I heard a lot of good things about you and great reviews about your show. We are going through really pressing times right now, not just in North America, but in the world. And it was important, I think, to just shed some light on these issues. We have a travel ban in states which is now on hold because of the court's decisions. But I just wanted to reflect on this, that first of all, Trump won the election fair and square, so we shouldn't go into electoral versus majority versus everything. But we should have constructive criticism where it's due and praise the individual where it's due. The travel ban, personally, I will only be in favor of it if there is a really important security or intelligence report on the table that says we have an issue and we cannot allow individuals from such countries until we resolve the issue. But at the same time, what if someone comes from another country? And what do you do after the 90 days?
Sure.
And some of these countries are so closely interlinked and have shared borders that it can happen any moment from another area, right? So I think the best way to go would be to have an open dialogue with these countries and to have reasonable discussion on how we can resolve the pressing issues of our time. Now, if we don't do that, we will have trouble in intelligence sharing. We'll have trouble in people interaction, public-private partnerships. And that leads to a negative aspect. Even trade will be affected. So I suggest to Mr. Trump's administration, because I can advise him on this. He has enough advisors and individuals that can give him a reasonable account of what's happening. But I think the best way to go ahead with this would be to have a reasonable discussion. I mean, these countries, it's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. It's just 7 countries. It could have been more. Mm-hmm. But these countries are affected by terrorism. America is affected by terrorism, and everyone is affected now. And we need to work to find the pressing solutions of our time. I keep using the word pressing because it is. And we are using language and rhetoric that could be very dangerous down the line. Now, we do have to give respect for being upright and honest, but sometimes that has repercussions also. We need to work on this.
Okay, so my next question is in your opinion, what do you think about the future of Iraq and Syria under Mr. Trump's administration?
What I think and what is going to happen are 2 different things.
Of course.
But what I hope happens and what we all wish, I hope we all wish that happens, is that there's peace and stability in that region. War has been happening for quite a while. Thousands are dead. Millions are dispersed internally and externally as refugees. And we need to find a way out of this. We cannot say that we're not going to allow people in and not honor the United Declaration of Human Rights, our Article 14, and Conventions, the 1951 Convention, if I'm not wrong. We have to address, to help these individuals who are escaping violence and, unfortunately, I'm going to be graphic, at bloodshed. We need to assist these individuals. And if you can't assist these individuals by allowing them into countries, then you have to stop the proxies. You have to stop the war. Somewhere down the line, you have to say, if you're not going to accept individuals, what can we do to benefit their lives there? Because there's only a limited amount of refugees and a limited amount of individuals you can accept and take care of. A lot of them don't want to leave their houses. They don't want to leave their businesses. They have livelihoods over there. They want to go back to that. Not everyone wants to get on a plane or on a ship and play with their life to come in a country, but they have no idea what's going on. So this is one issue. The other issue which is important to reflect here is about Bashar al-Assad. Some will say he should stay, some will say he should not stay. My suggestion would be that America and Russia sits down and has an individual in charge that is a diversified individual that can represent the views and opinions of everyone over there, and so that some of the heat that is at an individual or a country kind of settles down. The same thing is required in Iraq, which was not there before. We need to have a diverse government that represents everyone. And if we don't do that, this will continue to boil, and we will not be able to pull ourselves out of this turmoil. On Iraq and Syria, as we are there, I know President Trump has mentioned that he would like to take Iraq's oil. Now, if you revise history, part of the reason why we're there is because of the WMDs and Operation Curveball and the faulty intelligence. Well, the West went in because of that. The people on the ground had a different view and opinion. They said they're here for the oil. So if you're going to start with the same story of going in and taking the oil, that will be a huge repercussion for that. I think there'll be more problems than it will solve any issues. Now, if you say this to me, that how about America gives them something in return, establish some sort of a security or safety apparatus that Iraq and Syria is stable, and in return they get a discount on the oil, make a deal on that I'm for. If the Iraqi people agree for that, that's a good idea. But I don't think you should be going in and taking someone's resources. That's their natural resource, right? Every country has their resources. And I think it should be respected and protected. In fact, we should stand up for that. I would do the same thing if it was Canada. I live here, I was born here. I would do the same thing for any country. So we should speak openly and respectfully for others also.
Mr. Qureshi, since you talk about Canada, and I want to switch your focus for a while, what do you think about the recent attack in the Quebec mosque?
Well, let me be honest with you. It's sad, and I'm not saying this because it was a mosque masjid. Any community, any religion attacked based on their views and opinion and their faith is a crime. Even if you look at religious texts, any text, there will be signs of not allowing that. There will be texts saying that you shouldn't do that. Now, we should respect the efforts of the politicians, regardless of what political affiliation they are, and Justin Trudeau called it terrorism. We are a country in which we said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. And I think we also have to look at the narrative that we put forward, that a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist, regardless of what background, what religion, or what idea or mentality they hold. We should be upfront about that. We should hold it as it is. Now also based on that, I don't want to offend the Quebec viewers because they are Canadians. They're our brothers and sisters. But there is some issues that have to be dealt. We even had the Quebec's value charter and stuff that was taking place. So there is some harsh areas that we have to deal with, and we have to tone it down. We have to work with one another. Canada, America, these areas are, I would say, if not last, but one of the last beacons of hope, where we can say to the rest of the world that you can still have your reasonable disagreements and arguments, but you'll, at the end of the day, come to a reasonable solution and resolution of how you want to deal with things. I think that's a very important message, and I think it's said too often by a lot of politicians, and we take it for granted. I don't think we should take it for granted. We should take it as it is. It's a serious issue, and we need to work on this. We need to show to the world that we are welcoming. We are going to work for one another to help one another. That's as simple as that. You can, even a kid will say that to you. And I hope we as adults realize that and work forward to that end.
Just along those lines, what is Islamophobia?
Well, Islamophobia or anti-Semitism or any other hate of Christianity or any other faith is the same thing, a religion or people believing that their religion is better than anyone else. And that is a personal issue and also an issue that affects a culture, a civilization, a country. Now, it's reasonable to have a disagreement with a person, individual, or religion, but it's not reasonable to go out and commit a crime based on that. Even if you look at Islam, it says everyone has the right to equal and protection of that. And if we cannot provide that, that's a problem. So there is, unfortunately, a rise in that. So people are saying right now, Trump this, Trump that. Listen, he just came right now. It's not even been a month. These things have been there for a long time. So a lot of people are scared, a lot of people are worried, and I understand that. But there's also room for understanding and hope and to stand up for the right argument, right reasons, and I think we can do that. Fear is there in every culture. But I think if you look at terrorism alone, which is the reason why people are worried, the only countries that have been suffering are the Muslim countries. Because they're fighting a two-sided prone war from within and from outside. So we have to be cautious when we use these terminologies and insulting one another. It's not productive to our culture, it's not productive to our societies. Instead of insulting, we need to consult.
Thank you, Mr. Qureshi. I know you have a very busy day.
No, it's okay.
Just want to ask you like a final question. Like, if let's say if you have the chance to speak to Mr. Donald Trump, the President of the States, what would your advice to him?
Well, if I do get the chance to speak with him, my advice, I think I should use the word advice here after all. If we're going to talk about it that way, let's use it. I would say to Donald Trump this: you were elected on a mandate to protect your people, both those who voted for you and who didn't vote for you. Now, if you look at any culture, these people have the same dreams and hopes as anyone else. You want a job, I want a job. You want safety and security, I want safety and security. You want a house, someone else wants a house. Everyone wants a life and a good living, and they want safety and security at the end of the day. So the people that voted for him aren't different from everyone else. Yes, there is some of them who we may not agree with the language and stuff, but we have to open up our hearts and minds to realize that everyone has a point and a story where they're coming from. Now, if you ask me, Mr. Qureshi, why am I wearing this tie? I say, I like this tie. I'm comfortable with it. Everyone has something that they're used to and comfortable about.
Sure.
Now, one day I have to take this tie off and try something else. So we need to use that same analogy to try something different. And we are a bit afraid of coming out of our bubble, out of our safety zones, and interacting with one another. And that, I think, is very dangerous. And we shouldn't be doing that. We need to chew gum and walk at the same time. And because Donald Trump is a fan of Reagan, and I would say this, a lot of people are, and he said some interesting quotes, and I would like to use this quote. And he said, someone cannot help everyone, but everyone can help someone.
Great.
If we live by that mantra, if you want to call it, I think we would have more solutions than troubles and problems.
Thank you, Mr. Qureshi. Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming
very
to the
much.
show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Shan.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Satrang TV. I hope that you had enjoyed the show. If you have any comments about the show, or if you have any comments about the views and the opinion of Mr. Shan Qureshi, please email us at the address on the screen. Thank you.